Hey guys, hi, welcome back once again. My name is Vaishali and today I'd like to talk about the good and the bad boy or girl syndrome, or the collective ideas of what goes into the constitution of making a good boy or a good girl. And invariably those who fall short with regards to our perceived ideas of what constitutes a good boy or a good girl quite naturally falls under the category of the bad boy or the bad girl. So we all have grown up with the ideas and ideals of the good boy and the good girl that has been a part of our collective interpersonal cultural storyline. And if you look at some of the movies like Ye Jawani Hai Diwani, we would realize that Naina, played by Deepika, is an atypical portrayal of the good girl. Likewise in Gully Boy, Alia, in her dynamics with her parents within the walls of her home, projects the image of a good girl. In the similar breath, Imran Khan projects the image of a good boy in the movie Ek Main Aur Ek Tu. And let's go even a few decades back. Simran in DDLJ is the prototypical representation of a good girl. Or even of the character of Sridevi in the movie English Winglish. And then we hear the global superstars Priyanka Chopra Jonas saying, "Good girls don't make history. Bold girls do." And I understand her sentiments, for she in essence is asking to look at our definition and ideas of good girl or good boy. The same sentiment was also expressed by Laurel Thatcher Ulrich, an American Pulitzer Prize winning historian in 1976. And even Einstein had been quoted saying, "The woman who follows the crowd will usually go no further than the crowd. The woman who walks alone is likely to find herself in places no one has ever been before." And what if we were to replace the word woman or a girl by a person or an individual? Would that shift anything at all? And to some degree, it might be with the understanding that we are still addressing these issues from the standpoint of a patriarchal setup, a patriarchal mindset. So then let's look at the ideas of who constitutes this typical good boy or good girl. Where in my understanding, the generic idea of a good boy girl is somebody who's obedient, maybe to a fault, compliant, again maybe to a fault, does not disagree, / someone who's very agreeable, almost again to a fault, wherein they fail to have or express their own opinions. Someone who's docile, someone who's passive, not rebellious. And when I say rebellious over here, it's with an understanding that rebellion without a cause just might be catastrophe calling itself out. And rebellion with a cause might just be pushing out obstacles that stand in our own way. Obstacles that we might have even internalized. Obstacles that have been passed down through one generation to another. So let's add on some more to our plate with regards to the ideas of the good boy and the good girl. It is someone who does not express their hurts, their disappointments or their angers, which to me goes in the same breath as children are to be seen and not necessarily be heard. It is someone who takes care of everyone else before they even bother to take care of themselves. They don't get into fights or arguments and maybe even fail to express themselves. They don't even probably trust their own opinions and their own feelings. And many a time, since every person grows in a continuum, just like a tree that grows out of its planted seed and in the environment that it interacts with, these traits unconsciously continue into our adult life as well. Wherein at times, or even many a times, at the age of 40, 50, 60 and even 70, the person still thinks and acts like the child they were conditioned to be at the age of 2, 3, 4 and 5. In their relationships, they give many clues about how good they are. Typical actions of a good child trying to function in an adult body might look like: they smile when they're upset, rarely let us know that they are angry at the other person, seldom makes requests that can be perceived as being selfish or demanding. They point out the flaws, saying, "I'm only telling you for your own good," which probably they've even heard of when they were growing up, at least in their formative years. We would hear them using a lot of shoulds and have to in their instructions to others, probably even to themselves. They smile and compliment people to their faces but find it difficult to speak their honest truth in front of them. They are alert and very vigilant about the bad people, the bad boy and the bad girl, and thereby they keep alerting and warning others about the bad boy and the bad girl as well. They might have difficulty receiving compliments. They almost always care about the perception of others about themselves. The good child does not express criticism directly. In group meetings, they will smile and agree with the manager. When asked to express a contrary opinion, they are unable to do so. And maybe after the meeting or the get-together is over, their words, their opinions might sound very cynical and critical. And there might be many more ideas about the good boy and the good girl. But what if in hindsight, good actually meant that knowing what is truly good for our own self, and also being able to say no to what may not necessarily be good for us at that point in time, and having the good sense to constantly and consistently re-evaluate that as well. Would that truly not be a sign of a person with good sensibilities, of a good person, rather than the predispositioned idea of good and bad that we may have observed and absorbed during our formative years, but have outgrown their courses? For in the words of Anita Moorjani, the best-selling author, speaker and consultant of many books, including Dying to Be Me, wherein she almost practically had to die to begin living her authentic expression, her personal goodness, rather than the idea of the good girl. And maybe when Priyanka Chopra Jonas talks about bold girls, maybe even bold boys or bold people, she doesn't necessarily talk about the preconceived notion of boldness, but rather the inherent nature of life, which knows the discernment of what's good and what's not good for it at every stage in its personal evolution. So let's try and see how the infiltrated, absorbed and embodied ideas of the good boy and the good girls that we received in our formative years are enabling us or disabling us. How are they helping us grow, or have they now become an obstacle in our own paths, in our own journey? Let's try and reflect on that for ourselves, and I will see you once again the next week. Till then, stay tuned in. And guys, if you do like the contextual content of my videos, please do like, share and subscribe.